In this video, we're going to show you how to install pads and rotors on the rear of your Jeep Grand Cherokee, located behind the back wheels. Using a 22mm socket, go ahead and loosen and remove the lug nuts. Go ahead and grab that wheel, remove it, and set it aside. Once you have your wheel off, we want to go ahead and focus on this little anti-rattle clip here. We want to go ahead and remove this. So what we're doing is just using a small screwdriver to put it in and release this hook. There's one on the other end here. We're going to do that down below and pop that out, and you can see the hooks right here. Let's go ahead and set that aside. Now on our particular vehicle, we have plastic caps here and here. And we're going to use our small pocket screwdriver and get in here and just pop these caps off. Pop those out and set them aside. Now if you don't have these, it's not critical, but these do protect access to the Allen bolts we have inside here. We now need to go ahead and loosen. Now on this particular setup, we're going to go ahead and remove the caliper and bracket as one assembly. Normally we could remove the two slide pins here, but unless you have an Allen key or an Allen wrench to come out, you're not going to be able to get a ratchet in here to clear the control arm. So easy enough. There's an 18mm bolt on the bottom here. Right up on the top side of the caliper bracket, there is another 18mm. We're going to go ahead and loosen and remove both of these. Now if you have a gear wrench, that would be prime for this here. So you can go ahead and just kind of ratchet that right out nice and quick. Once you get to a certain point, in most cases you can go ahead and thread that out by hand. There it is. Now let's go ahead and do the same for the upper bolt. There we go. Got the other bolt out. Now we're going to go ahead and remove our caliper and bracket as one. Sometimes you'll need a pry bar, depending on how much rust you have on there. I'll go ahead and work this loose. Now you can use a securing strap or a hook. We want to go ahead and secure this up out of the way. We don't want to have the weight of the caliper and bracket pulling on our flex hose here. So go ahead and anchor that up somewhere. I'm going to go ahead and hang it off the coil spring itself. Let's go ahead and loosen and remove our rotor. We're going to use our mallet. Go ahead and work that rotor off of the e-brake shoes. You can go ahead and set that aside. We're going to inspect our e-brake shoes here. Everything looks like it's in really good condition. Our springs look good. I'm going to go ahead and give this a cleaning with some spray solvent. Our next step is to separate the caliper from the bracket itself. Now if you want, go ahead and pull the brake pads out. This particular brake pad has the squeak tab on the outside. So we want to go ahead and remember that. And then go ahead and work out the inboard pad. Pop that out, and this has a little spring clip on the back side. Go ahead and set that aside. We're going to remove this off of our support hook here. Now we have access to the two 7mm screws here. Going to loosen and remove these. Now you want to hold this here because the bracket is going to separate from the caliper. Go ahead and set that tool aside. Separate these here. And we want to go ahead and hang this again. Let's take the bracket over to our bench and clean this up. Now on our bracket here, we have the two slide areas here where our brake pads slide in. We'll go ahead and clean these up here. We're going to use a bristle brush and clean this up. Now this is going to work out just fine for us. However, if yours has big nuggets of rust on here that just isn't coming off with this, go ahead and use a file. Go ahead and clean it up. You don't want to take away any metal, but you do want to clear up any of the chunks of rust in there so that your brake pads slide nice and fluid-like in those. Now go ahead and use some spray solvent. Give that a quick cleaning. We're going to go ahead and repeat for the other side. Go ahead and let that dry up. And let's go ahead and work on our caliper next. Let's go ahead and remove your slide pins. We're going to clean these up afterwards, but you can see a bunch of dried grease on that. We want to go ahead and clean that up after. The next thing we want to do is compress our piston here. I want to push that back inside. Now you can use a C-clamp or something like that to go ahead and push that in. You want to push it in until it's seated all the way. Now the other thing you want to do is you want to inspect the rubber boot. Inspect the rubber booter on here, make sure it's not torn or anything like that. Ours is in good condition and the piston went in nice and smooth, so we should be good with a caliper. Now we're going to use some spray solvent. Give that a spray and wipe it down. Inspect these here, make sure there's no rust buildup, any corrosion like that. It should be nice and smooth. Go ahead and repeat for the other one. And you want to go ahead and inspect inside of these rubber boots themselves. Just do a visual, make sure that they're clean. There's nothing causing any issues. We'll go ahead and remove our hook there to do this. And just look inside the holes, make sure there's no debris or anything like that in there. Ours look good. Now if you do have debris in there, go ahead and use some spray solvent, clean that out. Let's go ahead and clean up our hub face here. Now you can use a simple bristle brush and clean this up here. And what we'll probably do is we're going to use it around the perimeter here, like so. We want to make sure that we have a nice smooth surface for our brake rotor to sit up against. If there's a nugget of rust or it's not sitting smooth, then the rotor itself, when it rotates, it's going to have a wobble to it because there's going to be a high spot somewhere. You don't want that. You're going to feel that in the brake pedal. You're going to end up with premature brake pad and weird wearing brake pads. So you need to make sure that you do this. Once you've done that, go ahead and give it a quick spray with some spray solvent to clean that up. Now I'm going to go ahead and use a spray anti-seize on this here. Now if you have the brush, go ahead and brush it on. I'm going to use a piece of cardboard that I cut away. I don't want to get any of this stuff on the brake shoes on the back. So I just trim this. Let's go ahead and take our brake rotor, line that up. You want to work that back. Now what we're feeling for right now is the placement of the e-brake shoes. Now right now it's super tight. I can't even get this rotor on all the way. So we're going to slide this off. We're going to adjust our e-brake shoes by using this adjuster right here. You can use a flathead screwdriver. And what we're going to do is we're going to rotate this upward and then tap our shoes together. And just move it a few teeth, tap them together, and then try the rotor again. Here we are. Still feel a little bit of resistance there, but it feels like those shoes are right there. That's good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of the lug nuts and I'm going to thread that on. And what this is going to do is that's going to hold our rotor in place so it's not falling out like that. After we have the slide pins in and greased up on the bracket, let's go ahead and install our inboard pad on the piston. Now that we have our pad in place, I'm going to go ahead and slide our pins in. Go ahead and take the bracket itself, drop that in. Let's go ahead and get those slider pins started onto the brackets. Once we have those started, let's go ahead and tighten them down. I'm going to take our outboard pad. We're going to slide our bracket a little bit here. Drop that pad down inside. Then we're going to line this up. Slide this over. Now we can install the 2 bolts on the back side. I'm going to get the upper bolt started. Run that in a few threads. Then we'll go ahead and get that lower one put in. Get that started a few threads. Just wiggle that caliper and bracket around a little bit until that lines up. That should thread in nice and easy. If it's not, you want to pull it back out and try it again. You do not want to cross thread these here. Torque down the caliper bracket bolts to 89 foot-pounds. And then repeat for the lower. Go ahead and torque down your 2 slide pin bolts to 20 foot-pounds. And repeat for the lower. Go ahead and install our anti-rattle here. I'm going to start that there. We're going to use our small flathead screwdriver. I want to go ahead and make sure that these are tapped in, inside behind, so that locks into place. Okay, it's locked in. Now if your vehicle had the plastic caps, go ahead and pop those in. Now at this point here, we can go ahead and remove our lug nut. Going to repeat the brake installation for the other side. Once you're all set with that, install both of the wheels. Hop into the vehicle. You go ahead and start up the vehicle, pump up the brakes. It'll take a few pumps for that pedal to firm up again because the caliper needs to compress all the way in. Once you get a firm brake pedal at that point there, go ahead and go for road test and you're all set. Go ahead and get your wheel lined up. Put that into place. We're going to go ahead and get our lug nuts all started by hand, and then we'll come back and snug them down. Go ahead and torque down the lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. the only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.